lengthy process to go through this, but it's very important that you understand this. So if indeed you miss a day of school, make sure you get on the video and get this figured out, because you do not want to miss any of the details on this. This is a very intriguing story, and it'll tell you an awful lot about Lee Harvey Oswald and how goofy the guy is. So the overall topic is the Kennedy assassination, the interrogation and death of Lee Harvey Oswald. And the first subtopic is the interrogation, November 22nd, 1963. All of the stuff I'm going to tell you, several pages of notes, all happened on this one day after the assassination, which is pretty incredible. Now, in your mind, where is Oswald from our lectures before? Where is he at right now? No? Not yet. Where's he at? He's in the movie theater. They just apprehended him and were taking him to the front of the Texas Theater to get ready to take him downtown. Okay, so that's where we're at. So he was escorted out of the Texas Theater, and he was in front of an angry crowd right in front of the theater, and they placed him in a police car. So he's been taken out of the theater, right in front of the theater. He's very visible. There's pictures of that. You'll get a chance to see those. And they place Oswald in a police car. Place him in a police car, right outside the theater. Now he's put in the back of the police car, and he's between two officers, and there's two other officers in the front of the car. So there are 4 police officers in the car, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, Oswald in the middle between the 2 officers in the back. Now this is going to be kind of a running story, so I don't know if you can write everything down, but you could sure refer to the video a little bit, because there's a lot of quotes and that type of thing that you probably aren't going to have time to write down. Now, what do you think the first thing one of the officers asked Oswald when they got him in the back of the car? They haven't seen him so much. That's right. What's your name? The first question they asked him was his name, and there was just silence. He didn't answer. Finally, he just blurts out, "Why are you treating me this way? All I did was go into a theater with a pistol." That's what he said to him. So you're going to hear a lot of bizarre responses. Like, that would be okay to go into a theater with a pistol, you know? Okay? So again, they put him in the back of the police car. They set him in the middle of the 2 officers in the back seat. There's 2 officers in the front seat. One of the officers immediately asks him his name. He doesn't say anything, and finally he gets frustrated and blurts out, "Why are you treating me this way? All I did was go into a theater with a pistol." Then, one of the police officers said, "Well, you killed a police officer." And he acts surprised and says, "A police officer has been killed?" This is how he reacts to these questions all the way through as we go through this interrogation. So after he makes the comment that all I did was go into a theater with a pistol, and "Why are you treating me this way?" they inform him that a police officer, that he killed a police officer. "You killed a police officer." He says, "A police officer has been killed?" What might be the next thing you do if you're a police officer, if you ask the guy's name and he doesn't tell you? On your way to the police headquarters, what might you do? Go ahead, say it. Yeah, they decided to go through his wallet and look for identification. He wouldn't tell them, so an officer reaches into Oswald's back pocket and pulls out his wallet. Okay, so he won't tell them his name. Because do they know his name at this point? Did he ever tell me? Did he tell M.N. McDonald or Paul Bentley in the theater what his name was? No. So they pull his wallet out of his back pocket, and they grab an ID out, and the name on the ID is Lee Harvey Oswald. And they ask him, "Are you Lee Harvey Oswald?" And what does he say? Nothing. Okay? So they pull out his wallet out of his back pocket. They pull out an ID. It says Lee Harvey Oswald on the ID. And they ask him, "Are you Lee Harvey Oswald?" Silence. So they continue to search the wallet, and they find a second ID. And this one doesn't say Lee Harvey Oswald on it. It says A.J. Heidel, which is on your ID sheet. This is where the whole thing starts unraveling a little bit. So they pull out a second ID out of his wallet, And this one doesn't say Lee Harvey Oswald. It says A.J. Heidel. So what are they asking? Are you A.J. Heidel? And he refuses to answer. So now they got him in this car driving to police headquarters. They don't know his name. They pull his wallet out. He's got 2 different IDs. One with Lee Harvey Oswald and one with A.J. Heidel. They get tired of it. Nothing more said the rest of the ride to police headquarters. Well, at 1:58 p.m., the police arrived with Oswald at police headquarters in downtown Dallas. 1:58 p.m., the police car, the 4 police officers, and Oswald arrived in downtown Dallas at police headquarters. And he's immediately taken up to an important room, room 317, which is labeled homicide and robbery. Homicide and robbery. So as soon as he is brought into police headquarters, they take him to the 3rd floor into room 317, which was labeled homicide and robbery. And what do they do when they get him up there? What's the first thing they're going to do with him? Put him somewhere, right? They're going to put him in a small holding room, and he's handcuffed behind his back. So they're going to interrogate him. So they take him into the Dallas Police Headquarters downtown. They take him up to room 317, homicide and robbery, set him in a holding room with his hands handcuffed behind his back. And why is he there? Because he did what? Killed the police officer. We haven't even got to the Kennedy deal yet. He's there because he shot police officer J.D. Tippit. Now here are the 5 pieces of evidence that they have against him for the murder of Tippit. Okay, they have 5 pieces of evidence. Anybody remember what they might be?
Yes, a couple witnesses.
Hey, Helen Markham, there's one. Eyewitness Helen Markham is one piece of evidence they have against him in the killing of Tippit. They have an eyewitness in Helen Markham, the lady that put her hands over her face as he walked toward her.
Of the gun.
They have the gun.
Does he have?
Okay, let's go. I'll go down the line here. There were several eyewitnesses that saw him flee the scene, right? Including who? Remember? Ted Calloway, Johnny Brewer.
That's the second one.
Yeah. So the second one is there are several eyewitnesses that saw Oswald flee the scene of the Tippit killing, right? Who saw him? Ted Calloway, the used car lot. But hey man, what the hell's going on here? Remember that guy? Number 3 is they had eyewitnesses that saw Oswald empty those shell casings from his revolver as he left. Remember he shot Tippit 4 times? And he emptied those shell casings out. They had eyewitnesses that saw Oswald empty spent shell casings in the grass by the murder. Now, they have the gun. But what they have with the gun is the 4 shell casings they picked up out of the grass that match the gun perfectly. So they have the gun, and they have the 4 shell casings that were found in the grass. Well, that's certainly good evidence against him, right? And if you're going to kill one police officer, you wouldn't mind killing another. He tried to kill another one in the theater. He tried to shoot M.N. McDonald, right? And only because McDonald grabbed at his hand and the hammer of the gun hit between his first finger and his thumb did he not get shot. So they had eyewitness Helen Markham. They had several eyewitnesses that saw Oswald flee the scene of the Tippit shooting. They had eyewitnesses that saw him empty spent shell casings in the grass. The gun that they apprehended from him, or took from him, confiscated from him, matched the 4 shell casings that they found in the grass near the Tippit killing. And he tried to kill M.N. McDonald as well, which showed that he was certainly capable of shooting a police officer. So they have a pretty good case against him in the killing of Tippit. Am I right? As far as the killing of President Kennedy, they don't have as good evidence, do they? Okay? What did they have? Let's think about this again. As far as the evidence against Oswald in the killing of Kennedy. What did they have? Rifle, right? Did they, what's that?
Sniper.
Sniper, well, let me go through it this way with you. Shells, right? They have the rifle, they have the shells. Was the assassination done from the building in which Oswald worked? Did Oswald have access to the 6th floor of that building?
He was the only one.
He left the depository right after the shooting? He was the only one gone? You could write all these things down you want, but what evidence don't they have? You were going to say it, I think. What type of evidence don't they have as far as against Oswald for Kennedy? They have no forensic evidence. Okay? They don't have any evidence that ties Oswald to what? Do they have evidence that ties Oswald to the pistol that he shot Tippett with? Do they have any evidence that ties Oswald with the rifle?
No.
No. That's the difference right now. And that's going to be the thing that's going to be hard to get him. What are they going to need if they don't have that evidence from him? A confession. Now keep that in mind. They got a solid case on the Tippett killing. No question about it. You got eyewitnesses. You got shell casings that match the pistol he apprehended. He took a shot at a police officer in the theater, right? I mean, there's no question. But as far as the Kennedy assassination, they don't have any evidence that matches Oswald to the rifle that was used. They know he worked at the depository. They know that he had access. They know he was the only one gone, like Mauricio said. But they don't have anything that ties him to the rifle. And until they get something that ties him to the rifle, which is going to take a period of time here, by the way, all they can do is interrogate him and try to get him to confess. That's the goal. Okay? Now, who's going to be the man to interrogate Oswald? Anybody want to guess? Somebody we talked about already? What? I didn't hear you. Who was the captain that came to the scene of the shooting not long afterward? Will Fritz. Captain Will Fritz. He's going to be the guy that's going to interrogate Oswald. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Will Fritz and why he was chosen to be the man to interrogate Oswald. Okay? He was a very widely respected police officer. He headed up every homicide in Dallas for the past 30 years. Every murder in Dallas, Texas, in the last 30 years were headed up by Will Fritz. He was a professional, widely respected, very calm demeanor, very good negotiator and interrogator. If there's anyone in the Dallas Police Department that can get a confession out of Oswald, it would be Will Fritz. And that's the man they put in charge. So where's the last time we'd heard about Will Fritz? Where was he? He was at the depository, okay? So he returns to police headquarters, and this is the things he's seen. He's seen the sniper's nest, he's seen the rifle, and he's seen the name of the missing employee. Had he seen Oswald yet? No, okay? So keep that in mind. When Fritz got back to the police headquarters from the Texas School Book Depository, he had seen the sniper's nest, he had seen the rifle, and he had the name of the missing employee, but he has not seen him yet. And does he know that he's coming down to be interrogated? Does he know he's there? Okay? He doesn't know he's captured yet. So at this point, it's two separate things. Do you get what I'm saying at this point? Well, because he didn't know that Oswald had been captured, he was interested in getting him. So he got a search warrant to search an address in Irving, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. And Irving's on your ID sheet. So he's still looking for Oswald. He's seen the rifle. He's seen the sniper's rest. Okay, he's seen the evidence, but he hasn't seen Oswald, and he doesn't know that they picked him up for the murder of a police officer, right? So these are like two different things happening. So Fritz went to get a search warrant because he wanted to search an address in Irving, Texas. Why would he want to go to Irving, Texas? Why would he want to search a place in Irving, Texas?
Where Oswald's fine.
Good. okay? But he didn't get it from his wife. When he applied for employment at the school book depository, he put an address in Irving on his application because Callie's right, we haven't got there yet. Oswald and his wife are separated. And he's living in the boarding house, right, that he went to and picked up the pistol before he shot Tippett. And his wife's living with a friend in Irving because they're separated. We'll get to that in a minute. So he puts the address of the wife's friend on his application. So naturally Fritz goes to find out where this guy lives, and he searches his application when he applied to work at the Texas School Book Depository, and he sees an address in Irving. So he sent a search warrant to search that. Now he got on the phone and secured the warrant. This is kind of an interesting story. He secured the warrant, and then he told 2 police officers to go get it for him. Go get the physical warrant for him. So he secures it, tells me he wants a warrant, and then he orders 2 police officers to go get the physical warrant for him. Because what's he going to do? He's going to go out to Irving and try to search that place to see if he can find Oswald or something about Oswald. Because he doesn't know he's been captured. This is the key. So when Fritz handed this, or excuse me, when Fritz gave one of these police officers the order to go get this search warrant, he looked at it and he said, quote, "Well, Captain, you don't have to go out to Irving and get him because there he sits." And he pointed him out that he was sitting in the holding room. So Fritz didn't know he was in the Dallas Police Headquarters until after he secured a search warrant to look for him in Irving. And when the police officer looked at that and knew what was going on a little bit more than Fritz, knew kind of what the situation was, he says, "Well, Captain, you don't have to go out to Irving and get him because there he sits." And he was already there. So once Fritz figured out he was there, he had him taken to his office. So Oswald was then taken to Captain Fritz's office by police officers. And what's Fritz going to do? Interrogate him. Okay? So Oswald's there. And this is how the interrogation goes. So I'm not sure how exactly you want to write this down, but I think listening might be better. Okay, Fritz began his interrogation in his usual very calm voice. Very low-key guy, which was good. And he says to Oswald, what's the first thing he asks him? "What's your name?" And he says, quote, "You know my name. You've got it in the papers." And Fritz says in return, "Well, why don't you tell us yourself, just for the record?" And Oswald says, "Lee Harvey Oswald. My name is Lee Harvey Oswald." Well, what do you think Fritz asked him about next? Not yet. Yeah, the other ID says, "Well, what about the other ID, you know, the A.J. Heidel? Is that an alias?" He asked him if that's an alias, because he's wanting to know why he's got this other ID. And Oswald just responded by saying, "Oh, it's something I picked up in New Orleans." Well, that's another story to itself, okay? Well, what does he do next, Oswald? What do you think he does next? He's getting kind of squirmish, and what's he kind of complaining about? "God dang, these handcuffs are tight. Hurt me." So Oswald complains about the handcuffs being too tight. So Fritz allows him to be unhandcuffed, so to speak, and handcuffed in the front. As a what? Why did Fritz do that? Well, yeah, you know, treat him like a human being. He thought he might be able to get some more information out of him. So Fritz thought treating Oswald a little better by uncuffing the tight cuffs in the back and putting him in the front would allow him to open up. He might even get some good information about Oswald if he was treating him right. That's the way Fritz did things. Very good. Well, the conversation's going pretty well. Oswald was relaxed and pretty calm, and he was responding to Fritz's questioning pretty well. And all of a sudden that changed at 3:15 p.m. That good relationship between Fritz and Oswald and the great way the interrogation was going changed at 3:15. And what happened at 3:15 is an FBI agent entered the interrogation room. An FBI agent entered the interrogation room. And that will take us to our next subtopic, which is the FBI and files on Lee Harvey Oswald. And this is going to get kind of crazy, but you got to bear with me on it. So at 3:15 p.m., all of a sudden the complete mood of the interrogation room changes between Fritz and Oswald when an FBI agent arrives. And his name was James Hosty. So our next subtopic then is the FBI and files on Lee Harvey Oswald. Now Oswald doesn't know who this guy is, but when he hears his name, he just gets pissed, pounds his hands violently on the table, and makes the following comment. So when Hosty walks in, everything's fine. When he introduces himself, "Hi, I'm FBI agent James Hosty," Oswald just gets pissed. And he just takes and slams his hands down and pounds them on the table, and he says, "This man has been harassing my wife. My wife is a Russian citizen and is protected by diplomatic law from harassment by the FBI. Your FBI is not better than the Nazi Gestapo, or Gestapo." Okay? He just gets ticked because what he's saying is true, is his wife is from Russia. And we'll talk about that later. So again, when Hosty's name is heard, Oswald gets mad and yells, "This man has been harassing my wife. My wife is a Russian citizen and is protected by diplomatic law from harassment by the FBI. Your FBI is not better than the Nazi Gestapo." Now this all comes from an earlier letter that Oswald had sent to Hosty. Not knowing who he was personally, but Hosty was an agent at the Dallas FBI office, and he accused him of harassing his wife. And I'll tell you why he accused him of that. So he is mad when he hears this Hosty's name, because he believes this guy's been harassing his wife. Now, Fritz is sitting there going, holy moly, because he doesn't have any idea that Oswald has connections to Russia. If his